battle is the great redeemer. It is the fiery crucible in which true heroes are forged. The one place where all men truly share the same rank, regardless of what kind of parasitic scum they were going in. My name is Kevin. Welcome to Couch Potato Theater here on the Fandom Podcast Network. And this is the podcast that we love to celebrate our favorite movies. And we are celebrating the 10th anniversary of Edge of Tomorrow or Live, Die, Repeat. And as usual, I've got my motley crew of, jumpers. I guess that's what we can call them. And hopefully one of them will get some parasitic blood from an alpha and let us know what's happening the next day. That'd be great. Let's see. Let's start off, of course, with my buddy from, he's my co-founder of the network, brother from another mother, Mr. Kyle Wagner. What is going on, sir?
Kevin, remember to hold up the DVD and they're at the proper angle. If you don't, there you go. You got it. You get reflection. Otherwise, it gets so bad. And I have such a sense of deja vu with this podcast. This might be about the 100th time I recorded it now. I got to tell you, though, Kevin, the one time where you shot me in the back of the head, that wasn't pleasant.
I have no memory of that. Sorry.
You took a little too much joy in that one.
I'd like to also welcome the Queen of Movie Foo, my co-host, of course, for Time Warp, and also the badass on the battlefield, Queen of Movie Foo, Miss Lacey Adderhold. What is
Hello. Not much. Trying to figure out if this tropical storm is gonna murder us all.
Well, we have some aliens with goo and time looping to talk about. This is, of course, Couch Potato Theater on the Fandom Podcast Network. And we are, of course, talking Live, Die, Repeat, a.k.a. Edge of Tomorrow. We'll get into that in a moment, but we do have some other stuff that has arrived recently. And this is Deadpool month as we speak. Deadpool and Wolverine is out in theaters and doing quite well. Of course, here on the Fandom Podcast Network. We've also done Couch Potato Theater for Deadpool, the original film, 2016. And we recently did Couch Potato Theater for Deadpool 2, which came out in 2018. And so, and Lacey right there showcasing her wonderful, was it Wolverine mug? And of course, her Deadpool one, I think. There you go. Awesome. All right. Yes. And also, too, check out the Deadpool and Wolverine True Believers spoiler reaction show. And I have a feeling later this year, Wolverine, Deadpool will be coming back to the Couch Potato Theater or Fandom Podcast Network in some way. Recently, also, we've celebrated Roadhouse, its anniversary. Had special guest and co-star Anthony DeLongis on as a special guest. And we also went back to 2010 and celebrated The Losers. Great fun action hero there that we loved going down and talking about. And we also celebrated the anniversary of The Mummy, 1999. Make sure you check that out. And Kyle, you also gave us a lead into and had a great time hosting the rad Couch Potato Theater.
I did it with a thunder in my heart.
And coming soon to the Fandom Podcast Network, we're going to be celebrating James Cameron as these classics have hit 4K. And those that I speak of is True Lies, 1984, and The Abyss, 1989. Excited to get into that. But we are talking Live, Die, Repeat, or is it Edge of Tomorrow? We'll get into that right there. So
Kevin,
let's go ahead and yeah, sure.
It could also be All You Need Is Kill.
All You Need Is Kill. We'll touch on that too. So definitely, yeah. Okay, guys. So let's go ahead and get into the movie time, and let's talk a little IMDb description. Okay, so guys, the IMDb description for the plot says a soldier fighting aliens gets to relive the same day over and over again, the day restarting every time he dies. Now, you can get into the Warner Brothers synopsis, and it gets a little more into things like the alien race has hit the Earth in an unrelenting assault, unbeatable by any military unit in the world. Major William Cage, played by Cruz, is an officer who has never seen day of combat when he is unceremoniously dropped into what amounts to be a suicide mission. Killed within minutes, Cage now finds himself inexplicably thrown into time loop, forcing him to live out the same brutal combat over and over. fighting and dying again and again. But with each battle, Cage becomes able to engage the adversaries with increasing skill alongside Special Forces warrior Rita Vertasky, played by Emily Blunt. And as Cage and Vertasky fight the fight to the aliens, each repeating encounters gets them one step closer to defending the enemy. Lacey, I want to go to you real quick because you brought up something kind of interesting about how this is basically a newer version of Groundhog Day.
Yes, yes, yes.
And we have been discussing time travel this year on Time Warp, or excuse me, on Couch Potato Theater. And we're kind of shooting in some time warpy travel movies, and we realize that, well, this is the 10th anniversary of this movie. We love it. And of course, time travel is crucial in this. When it comes to living the same day over and over again, I would say obviously the most famous one, of course, is Groundhog Day. I recently, if you're a horror fan, Happy Death Day to You has done it as well. Is there any other quick shout outs of other Groundhog Day-ish type movies with Time Warp?
Yeah, Palm Springs was great. Andy Samberg and J.K. Simmons, Kristen Milotti. It's hilarious.
Good call on that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like
and The Map of Tiny Perfect Things. It's kind of a teen version with Catherine Newton from well, she's been in a bunch of things. She was in one of the WB shows, in the Arrowverse, and she was also in Supernatural for a minute, I think.
Well, speaking of Supernatural, didn't they have a famous time loop episode in Supernatural too?
Yes, episode. Yeah. Let's see, I believe it was episode 17 of season 2, maybe. I think it's called The Mystery Spot, and it is sad because Dean goes through some situations.
Kyle, can you think of any other time loop movies that this movie might compare to, if any?
Not. I'm trying to think off the top of my head because I think we named the major ones. It seems like most science fiction TV shows at some point have a time loop episode. I mean, Star Trek has done it.
It's a trope.
Couple of times. Yeah. I mean, we just had one in Discovery here this most recent season. In fact, so
nice.
Yeah.
Buffy had one.
Mm-hmm. It's a great trope to use in television, and it's also, I know it's a fun thing to film for the cast as well. But yeah, we actually, and one thing I wanted to tease here is that during our Couch Potato Theater Time Warp movies that we've been covering this year, we also have we have a time travel segment where we bring up 3 topics. Well, I decided to move that segment over here into Couch Potato Theater because it definitely begs a discussion of how time travel was used, and we'll get into that in a little bit. Did want to mention, first of all, some of the release date and budget information. This movie runs an hour and 53 minutes. The release date in the States was June 6, 2014, which I find interesting because isn't that June 6th? Isn't that like the D-Day invasion? And we have an invasion here in this film, if I remember correctly.
6/6. I think D-Day was just wait.
The date of June 6th is D-Day.
Yeah, June 6th is D-Day.
Yeah, June 6th, yes.
Yeah. The filming dates for this were August 1st, 2012 to March 9th in 2013. And in August 2013, they had some pickup shooting as well. The budget was about $178 million. Opening weekend on June 8th was $28 million. The U.S. gross was just over $100 million, and the overall gross was $370 million. The film ranked first in home media sales for the week beginning October 7th, 2014, with 62% of sales coming from the Blu-ray version. The DVD and Blu-ray releases grossed $27.9 million in the United States. On July 5th, 2022, Edge of Tomorrow was released on 4K with its original title restored. And of course, I did show that up there later. This is more of a recent one. It's 4K. I'm showing this for the video. If you're listening, make sure you check out the video on YouTube. This is the 4K Blu-ray with a digital code. So let me go ahead and start here, Kyle. Let's get into how you first originally saw that. We'll get Lacey back here in a minute. How did you watch this movie recently in the movie theater? Here, we'll get Lacey here. There you go. Yay, welcome back, Lacey.
I don't know what happened. Sorry.
No. Lacey just did her first time loop.
Oh, that's right. Someone killed her and she just got back. So
guys, what are we talking about?
She obviously had the blood of the alpha sprayed in your face. So that's good. I'm glad you're back. So we know you're the one that's in the loop. Good, Lacey.
No blood transfusions for you.
I'm asking, how did you watch this movie recently? And also, when and where did you first see the film? Lacey, let's start with you. There you go.
When I already had this one, and then when I heard we were getting ready to do this, I thought, you know what? This would be a good one to have on 4K. Because it's got a lot of like really solid like darks and blacks versus whites, like the just the grain of the picture and everything. So I thought that'd be really cool, which it was. So I saw it here on my lovely theater screen. And back when I saw it the first time, I definitely saw it in the theaters. I want to say it was Parkway Point. Huge screens, loud, huge, full crowds, back when it was, sold out every weekend, that kind of thing. So it was really fun. And I think I saw it probably 2 or 3 times that weekend.
Gotcha. That's cool.
Different people. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Kyle, what about you? Recently, and when did you first see it?
Well, recently I watched it digitally 4K on my Apple TV in my setup here at home. And then I did see it on the theater, I think opening night, in fact, because I was so intrigued by this film. And I think I ended up going to see it again a couple weeks later in the theater. But yeah, this was definitely an opening night movie for me.
Gotcha. I was with you there, Kyle. I remember seeing it. First of all, let me say I did watch it recently. I also got the 4K Blu-ray digital code on there. But I ended up going to the theaters originally, watching it in 3D so much I even got the 3D Blu-ray and the Blu-ray DVD digital HD at the time. And I love that the Blu-ray comes in like that lenticular thing. When you kind of move it around, you see the thing move a little bit, which I love it when they do 3D movies. But I saw it in 3D because I was watching everything in 3D if I could. And I often would tell people, like, this movie is worth the extra price in 3D, because usually they charge you like an extra $3 for the ticket. And then I would go, nah, this movie's not worth the 3D, or they're just doing it as a gimmick to charge extra money. But this I actually did enjoy in 3D. It was nice to revisit it recently in 3D. And then I watched it again on the 4K as well. Yeah, Lacey.
Didn't this have I vaguely remember a conversation on maybe one of the special features or something, where they were testing some new form of 3D camera, or like there was some sort of like milestone that was achieved by the 3D in this movie. I can't remember what it was. I
don't remember that, but I wouldn't be surprised, because it's one of the ones I would recommend in 3D for that reason. So that makes sense.
Because when Guardians of the Galaxy came out, I remember James Gunn saying that the things that they were doing, what they were doing, like piggybacking off of the technology that was done from this one. I could be making that up. Don't quote me on that.
That's pretty. That's pretty cool. I didn't go that deep into the tech on there, but I wouldn't be surprised, because a lot of 3D technology was getting better at this time.
Yeah.
It's interesting how Avatar really got it right out of the bat. And then everyone was kind of, because during this time too, there was companies like converting old movies into 3D. Yeah. And then people were like Top Gun was never in 3D, but that got converted into 3D. Right. Titanic was never, I don't remember Titanic being in 3D, and it came out in 3D on video because that was the latest craze. They were selling 3D TVs. Right. And so certain movies were specifically going into production to be made as 3D, as opposed to being made and then converted into 3D.
Right.
But yeah. So let's get into the main discussion, guys. This and I wanted to start off with, and you kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, Kyle. This is based on a book called "All You Need Is Kill" by Hiroshi Sakurazaka.
Hiroshi Sakurazaka.
Thank you, Kyle. Figured you know. Die in Battle, Reborn in Victory. And I got this article. I want to say it's, I think I got this out of Wiki, actually. And producer Erwin Stoff on changing the title, and I did want to mention this here, says, I think the word kill in the title is a very tricky in today's world. I don't know what people want to be bombarded with that word. I don't know that people want to be opening the newspaper and seeing that word. We see it, though, in kind of a real newspaper headlines, and I don't think we need to see it when we're looking at the movie. So we're talking about how this film was changed its title from the original Here, All You Need Is Kill to Live, Die, or Till Edge of Tomorrow. And he goes on to say, Warner Brothers invested over $100 million in the marketing campaign for Edge of Tomorrow. The film was initially titled All You Need Is Kill after the light novel, but as filming was ending in July 2013, Warner Brothers changed the title to Edge of Tomorrow. Warner Brothers president Sue Kroll said the title was changed partly due to negative chatter about the word kill in the title. Director Doug Liman, who said he rejected the title All You Need Is Kill because it, quote, I didn't feel like it was the tone of the movie I had made. Wanted to rename the film Live, Die, Repeat, but Warner decided to use it just as a tagline. So I want to ask you guys here, this movie was, when it came out, it was Edge of Tomorrow. Then they started using the tagline like in video releases when I noticed it, because I don't remember Live, Die, Repeat coming out at all in theatrical posters. Those were all released later. If I'm remembering that wrong, fine. But when I started seeing Live, Die, Repeat, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. My first response was, is that the European title? Is that the Australian title? Because that happens all the time. Lacey, what was your take on this at the time with this new name being added to this or confusing some people? Because if you look at it, sometimes Live, Die, Repeat's at the top of this thing. And if you look at this Blu-ray release, it says Live, Die, Repeat all over it.
Yes. Okay. So first of all, I know that it was available. I know that it was called that at least during the time that it was in theaters, because I used to have the Mylar for it. You know how they used to have the name above the theater on just like a piece of Mylar that was about this big.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when you work in a movie theater, you can go through and keep all those if you want to. So I know that I had the one for Live, Die, Repeat, and it had Live, Die, Repeat across the top, and then Edge of Tomorrow. So I know that was in theaters at some point. I don't know if it was at the beginning.
It seemed like, though, the poster, though, that Edge of Tomorrow was the predominant tag or name on it. And that's how, when you went to movie theaters and you would see the digital name of the movie, it said Edge of Tomorrow.
Right. But I will say the one thing that I know was annoying to the box office folks was that when people would come up, we would have the little paper where it had all the descriptions, and it would say Live, Die, Repeat, Edge of Tomorrow. And then they would say, oh, I want to go see that. And then they would get her ticket. It would say Edge of Tomorrow. And they'd say, no, I wanted Live, Die, Repeat. And they would be confused because the name on the ticket was not the same as the name on the, it was a thing. It was a situation.
Yeah. Kyle, what are your thoughts on that?
If I remember correctly, reading somewhere too, they focused more on the Live, Die, Repeat in the Blu-ray release as far as the marketing goes, because they felt, because of Edge of Tomorrow not doing that great in the box office as they thought it was going to, the Live, Die, Repeat kind of, I think they felt explained the movie a little bit better.
So you're talking about rebranding this.
Mm-hmm.
In a way, they kind of did. I mean, I remember it being Live, Die, Repeat in the theater too, as far as like the tagline, but I think they focused on Live, Die, Repeat much heavier with the physical and digital releases because they felt it sold the movie better.
Well, and the difference is when you look at the Blu-ray,
hold on,
Live, Die, Repeat is first.
Exactly, on the spine. Yeah.
But when you look at the 4K,
Edge of Tomorrow.
They figured it out. They figured out that they were just messing with people's brains, and finally they were like, you know what, just call it.
Okay, the big question. Make it a quick answer, okay, guys? What do you prefer as the main title? Do you prefer Edge of Tomorrow or Live, Die, Repeat? Kyle?
I think Live, Die, Repeat feels a lot better as far as describing the movie, but I think Edge of Tomorrow at the time in Hollywood felt like a catchier, grabby.
How do you feel about it now, though? That's the question.
Like I said, I think Live, Die, Repeat is, for me, I think that's the more grabbing of the two titles.
Okay, you vote Live, Die, Repeat. What about you, Lacey?
I don't know that I have a preference. I will say that when I was,
I'm asking you to make a preference. You have to make a choice. I'm asking you to make the choice.
One was under E. Like I had accidentally shelved them separately. I think that I most recently put it on the wall under E for Edge. I think Edge of Tomorrow is kind of where it sits with me.
Me too. I like the idea, because Live, Die, Repeat is too in your face. I don't have a problem with it. It's cool, and I like that. If that was the only title and we had never heard of Edge of Tomorrow, I would have been fine with that.
Mm-hmm.
But I like the tease of Edge of Tomorrow, and I thought that was a good call. So I'm going to go with Edge of Tomorrow as well. Okay, guys, this is the related article I want to ask you guys about because I thought this was cool. So we're recording this in 2024, and of course, this is 10 years later. We're celebrating 10th anniversary of this film, and I found a really cool article at radiotimes.com by George White, and this was published this year in May of 2024. And the title of this film says, Tom Cruise's best film is 10 years old and broke new ground for sci-fi. And I'll go ahead and show some slides here if you're watching this. He starts off by saying, repetition is boring. The same thing over and over and over. It becomes easy to zone out. It's difficult to stay engaged. Yet, Edge of Tomorrow, or Live, Die, Repeat, as it was once known for reasons, repetition is anything but boring. In fact, it provides the basis for Tom Cruise's best ever film and one of sci-fi's highest points in the 21st century. Now achieving the honor of topping Cruise's decade-spanning filmography is no mean feat, nor is bestowing that honor an easy decision. After all, in the past few years alone, the Hollywood icon has released several of big screen's most exhilarating blockbusters, Top Gun Maverick and Mission Impossible Fallout chief among them. I want to stop there with the article, guys. He's going out and saying he thinks this is Tom Cruise's best film, and that it also does a wonderful job at this. He was saying basically this is a high point for sci-fi at this time, 2010. Think about where we are, okay? If you want to go Avatar, it comes out a year earlier than this. Kyle, I want to start with you on this. Do you think it could be one of Cruise's best movies?
It's not his best film, but I'd put it in his top 5.
What do you think is his best film?
I still think you have to go Top Gun. I mean,
okay, all right, all right. And as for a sci-fi film, a cornerstone moment for sci-fi films, what's your take on that?
I actually agree with that because there's an aspect of this movie. It doesn't feel like the huge, big sci-fi blockbuster. It feels like that it came out of that little sci-fi story that could, and they made it itself into something. And I guess that's also because it didn't necessarily do great at the film, but because it did so well in the aftermarket, in the secondary markets with home theaters and things like that. But this is just such a good science fiction film, but it doesn't have that feeling of like this epic summer blockbuster science fiction film either. It's got an edge to it. It's good. And it's good.
See what you did there.
Yeah. But I mean, there's something about this movie. It feels like, okay, this could be something you see on the big screen, but it's something like, oh, I could watch this on Sci-Fi Channel in the afternoon too. It's got that feel, and it works either way.
Okay, well, before I get to you on this, Lacey, I want to mention that, he goes on to say, Cruise has shown his dramatic chops with Oscar-nominated turns in the likes of Magnolia and Born on the 4th of July since his screen debut in '81, and delivered one of cinema's most iconic lines when he told Rod Tidwell to show him the money in Jerry Maguire. But for all these highlights, it is Doug Liman's 2014 movie Edge of Tomorrow, a bit of a sleeper hit that underwhelmed at the box office, but has since attracted mass viewership on streamers, that sits on the summit of his big screen achievements. Lacey, I think that there's a lot of truth to this because this film has gotten a lot of love on streaming, on video. A lot of people are talking about it still and kind of calling it this kind of underrated gem that did not overwhelm in the box office, but did really well, of course, on home video. What do you think? Do you think it's one of Tom Cruise's best favorites, and it's like a really good sci-fi moment for sci-fi films?
I think that it's definitely in Tom Cruise's top 3. I think this is one of the few films that you see him, and that I think this is part of why the sci-fi of it all makes it possible. You see him start out as an absolute coward and end up like he goes from coward to, well, screw it, I'm going to die anyway. Like he goes through all of the stages of grief in one film, and it's not advertised that way. That's just how you see all the different bits and bobs. And at the end, he has, I mean, he becomes a better man because of it, or whatever you want to call it. He has his epiphany, and he saves the day and all that kind of stuff. That's great. I think as far as sci-fi is concerned, I think this was, while yes, it did borrow / pay homage to Groundhog Day and a couple of others that had come between the two. I think this is really it's fun because it has all the right things. It has the female, empowered superhero, the final girl, and it's got the big bad alien, and the aliens are badass. Like, they're awesome, and the machinery and all that, it does have alien-esque features with the body suits and it does have some,
Okay, you mentioned real quick, I'll get to you in a second, but I want to ask you real, Lacey. You said this is in your top 3. What were the other 2 Tom Cruise films that you put in the top 3?
Tom Cruise, I'm going to go Jerry Maguire, which I just loved. And I'd probably go, it might be Days of Thunder.
Okay. All right.
I really love Days of Thunder, yeah.
Two things real quick. One on the Tom Cruise thing. One of the reasons why this is such a great Tom Cruise performance is because he doesn't sit there to try to outshine his co-star. In fact, his co-star might outshine him in this movie. And I think that's something we're so used to Tom Cruise kind of being the star on the screen. It's rare that he takes a back seat, and he kind of, in a ways, he kind of does in this film.
You know what? Go ahead.
The other aspect I was going to say too is on the science fiction side of it. We hadn't had a real hardcore science fiction film like this in the theaters in a long time. I mean, this has that Terminator Aliens kind of vibe to it. And it had been, yes, we had Avatar, but that's a whole different world and thing. This had that ground, in the dirt, alien, grimy, just everything going wrong feel that we hadn't gotten from a sci-fi film in a while, too. So
you just brought up something I wanted to mention, Kyle. Great point. So when I first saw this film, it didn't sit with me right. There was something about it that it kind of bugged me, and I didn't go back and rewatch it. I didn't go to the theater. When it came back out on video again, I didn't watch it. I'm like, there was something about it. There was things that I liked about it, but I realized that it was the ending that didn't sit with me, and that it lost me. But then I'll be honest, I think this movie was smarter than me at the time. And I found that out when it started repeating on whatever movie channels that it was. And I'm like, okay, I get it now. I was Kevin movie dumb, and there's certain movies that I have to rewatch again. I'm like, I get it. Okay, Big Lebowski, I get it, and so there's just certain films where I'm like, you know what, first impression didn't do it for me, and I'll get into the ending a little bit because it's still a little bit later, but the ending I still have an issue with. But I really enjoy the ride of this film, and also too, you touched on it, guys. This is a role that Tom Cruise, yes, he's the lead in this. But is he? He's the guy going through the time loop, but then there's someone else going through the time loop, but someone that is losing the ability to do it. And the thing I love about this, and you touched on this, Lacey, I love that you get this kind of like, yeah, I'm not a war guy. I just like, I'm a PR kind of like sit behind the desk, captain or whatever that he was. He's like, I don't do that. And then he gets thrust into it because they need everyone to get into it. But and I like how he just tries to get out of that too. And then eventually he starts seeing that, I have this ability. So that's one of the things that jumped out at me that I thought was really, really cool. Yes, Lacey.
They also kind of foreshadow that. Like the very first time you see him wake up, when Paxton comes out and he says, "You are a deserter, sir." And then the next 2 times or 3 times he gets that line out before the repeat, right? And so right about the 4th or 5th time you see that happen, when his attitude changes from trying to get out to trying to save the day and fix the problem, he stops getting to that line. Yeah.
Well, one of the other things I did want to bring up, guys, that I think is very important to this film is these cool mech kind of battle suits here. Production designer Oliver Shaw and his team worked with the lead builder Pierre Bahana to develop concept art for several battlesuit options based on the contemporary real-world powered exoskeleton initiatives, such as those supported by DARPA, D-A-R-P-A. When director Doug Liman chose to design The team built an aluminum prototype frame that had pivots, points, and hinges. Costume designer Kate Hawley contributed a gritty aesthetic design for the color palettes and surface treatments. While the design was meant to be utilitarian, it was also created so the actors could be seen in the suits and also run in them. The team created a foam mock-up of Tom Cruise's so the frame could be tailored for him. The team handcrafted 70 hard material and 50 soft material battle suits in the course of almost 5 months. There were 3 versions of the battle suits: grunts, dogs, and tanks. The battle suit for Blunt's character was given red slash marks as to say she had been to hell and back and lived to tell about it. Cruise, known for performing his own stunts, also did so in Edge of Tomorrow. Both he and Blunt wore the heavy metal suits, which weighed about 85 pounds. The heavier versions were around 130 pounds. I want to touch on this first, Kyle, with you. I got to say, this is one of the most impressive things about this movie, that they actually made these things, made them to get in there, and the tech behind it was pretty impressive.
The evolution of the alien loader.
Aliens loader. I love it.
This tech is amazing. They have played with the exoskeleton ideas for so long in science fiction, and even today in our world today now, they are using some of these kind of technologies to help people who are paraplegic and have issues going on. But you got to give the credit to the Cruise and Blunt for wearing these suits, because these suits were freaking heavy, and even if they had any motorized parts to help them, it was still a mess. But the design is so good and so practical, and this is one of those things that where this movie came out in 2010. Just think of the advancement now. Hell, they're probably 3D printing half of these suits.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because each actor needed 4 people to put on the battle suit. Initially, Cruise needed 30 minutes to put on the suit and another 30 to remove it. Ultimately, the time was reduced to 30 seconds. Between takes, the actors would be suspended by chains from iron frames to take the weight off the suits off their shoulders. Lacey, your thoughts on these suits?
I don't want to wear one.
You're like, I'm out.
It's awesome. I'm very stoked for them. I love when actors like get into their craft and like really, do the thing, and that's great. I do not want to join them.
I don't blame you one bit. I want to touch on some reviews here. Edge of Tomorrow received largely positive reviews from critics who praised the humor, Liman's direction, the aliens' design, Cruise and Blunt's performances, and the time loop premise ability to remain fresh. I think that is one of the key ingredients to the film, as making the time loop fresh. Him kind of like showing up in his time loop during certain different times, and then kind of fast forwarding when he goes back through meeting the grunts and not getting squished by the truck and all that kind of stuff. I thought that was kind of cool. Rotten Tomatoes reports 91% of critics gave the film a positive review with an average rating of 7.5 out of 10. Justin Chang of Variety called Edge of Tomorrow a cleverly crafted and propulsively executed sci-fi thriller, saying the film was director Doug Liman's best since the Bourne Identity. And Edge of Tomorrow was listed as 23 critics' top 10 list of movies of 2014 out of 201 votes. I want to ask you guys, have you heard any negative or continuous negative takes on this film? I seem to think people kind of like either rediscovered it, I love that movie, it's rewatchable, or they just haven't seen it. Kyle?
It's very rare. Some people I can talk to some people who aren't necessarily fans of the time loop trope of it, but other than that, I mean, most people I talk to, either say, "Oh yeah, I really like that movie," or "I love that movie," or "Yeah, I found that movie enjoyable." I don't hear too many people talking bad about this film.
What about you, Lacey? What kind of radar is this film on with your friends that haven't seen it?
I don't know. I don't think I know anyone who hasn't seen it, because I've seen it so many times that they're bound to have been at my house one of those times. I know I do have people in my life that just don't like TC, like as a general rule. They don't like
Tom Cruise. Gotcha.
But I I'm a big fan of separating people from their lives. Like if I'm watching an actor, I don't care what they're doing. As long as they're not hurting anybody, I'm good.
Gotcha.
I don't pay attention to the politics of the people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next, we've got some movie trivia. And while filming the car chase scene, which includes a minivan, Emily Blunt was instructed to drive fast and then take a right-hand turn so that the van would shake. However, Blunt missed her mark, and she drove the car right into a tree. She later said that it was both hilarious and terrifying, as she almost killed Tom Cruise, who was in the passenger seat. But both of them started laughing after the incident. Can you imagine being the person that killed Tom Cruise?
Right?
Because Tom Cruise has given himself enough reasons to kill himself with all the stunts that he does. Tom Cruise didn't want the exosuits to be too CGI, so it would be more real to the audience. He showed up 2 months early to research and develop the suit. He thought the weapons were the fun and cool. Kyle, I wanted to talk to you about this because you touched on the suit earlier and stuff. It seems like he was hands-on with this and making sure that it didn't look cheesy. You mentioned earlier these could be 3D printed now, but can you hide that fact now? Do you need to be able to show how heavy these things are as you're running?
I think Tom Cruise would insist upon it, knowing Tom Cruise. I mean, this is a man who has apparently already pulled off a major skydiving stunt for the Olympic finale that's been filmed. Tom Cruise is I don't think you can judge fairly by anything Tom Cruise does. I mean, based off of what he's done in the Mission Impossible movies alone. So yeah. I think that's dealing with a whole different thing. I think 10 years, again, we were talking 14 years ago, 15 years ago, when you think about when this movie was filmed and just the advances in the technology, even in this point, there's no way those suits are near as heavy as they were now. It would be now that they were in this film at the time they filmed it.
Yeah, Emily Blunt was unprepared for the weight, apparently, according to trivia, which, of course, between 85 to 90 pounds. It was an podcast interview in December of 2022 that after putting on the metal suits, she started crying because it was so heavy and that she didn't think she could perform action scenes in it for 5 months. Then Tom Cruise told her, "Come on, stop being such a pussy, okay?" Emily said that she laughed at that and got it together to get the job done.
Nice.
Doug Liman, director, wanted to do the film because it showed that Tom Cruise it showed a role that Tom Cruise hadn't done yet. Someone very bad at what he does. I thought that was a good point. After the film's box office failure in the US, it managed to turn a profit worldwide. Its marketing strategy was changed slightly for its DVD release. In this case, on the front of the video box, the film's tagline was emphasized heavily with the title Edge of Tomorrow in small text at the very bottom of the case. As a result of the packaging, it gives the illusion that the film's title is Live, Die, Repeat. I kind of have a feeling, guys, that Kyle, you were the minority. You like Live, Die, Repeat. I think people gravitated towards that more in home video. So you might be onto something there.
Well, again, don't get me wrong. Edge of Tomorrow works great too. I'm just saying. I think when it hit home video, because of the film didn't having that great of success in box office, they focused on the Live, Die, Repeat to be more in your face. I hate putting it this way, but again, keep it simple, stupid, as they would say. You know,
KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. Yeah.
Stupid, you know.
Yeah. Got a couple more trivias here for you. When Emily Blunt's character was introduced, she is doing a plank hold. Although she needed a wire for help for long takes, she is actually capable of doing that maneuver without assistance. In fact, when discussing the introduction, a cast member said, "M, show the yoga move," and she casually demonstrated it. While preparing for her role here, Emily Blunt was tutored in the Israel self-defense system of Krav Maga. And we're going to talk about that scene a little bit later in another category. Tom Cruise was one of the first people to also learn about Emily Blunt's pregnancy. The cast and crew had to return a few months after principal photography had wrapped up to do some pickup shots. During the months between the two shoots, Blunt became pregnant and was only a few weeks along when they had to return for additional filming. Because of the pregnancy, she opted to not do her own stunts for the portion of the shoot, but didn't tell anyone why, since the pregnancy was still in the early stages. This confused Cruise since she had done most of her stunts during principal photography. She revealed to him that she was in the early stages of pregnancy, which according to her made him the only person besides her husband, John Krasinski, and one close friend to know about the pregnancy. So there we go. All right. This is a time travel movie, guys, right? We talk time travel? Is that what we do here?
There's something going on here on the network about time travel, isn't there?
Yes. So I urge you guys to go check out some of our Culture Clash episodes for this year of 2024, because we've covered some time travel movies. We did Looper. What else have we done, Kyle?
Let's see here. We did Sound of Thunder.
Timeline, yes. Yeah. So, and we have some more coming up as well that we'll get into. But we have a segment in those podcasts that I decided to carry over here. I did a little time loop to get him to this podcast. See what I did there? Yeah. No.
I don't know if time loop necessarily applies. I'd be time travel back to those episodes of Culture Clash. Yes.
Well, Edge of Tomorrow, Live, Die, Repeat came out 10 years ago. And the three topics that we talk about in our time travel discussion for Culture Clash, we're going to talk about here. The first one is time travel method used. So I kind of wrote this myself here, so forgive me if it's a little bit off, but the time travel method used is while dying, ingesting the blood of a dying alpha mimic, which leads to a time loop capability. Did I get that right, guys?
I was digesting getting acid eated by it was kind of gruesome.
It's ingesting. It's getting it in. Yeah.
You could also just go with alien STD.
Okay. I mean, you get an alien STD.
It's mixing fluids, and then all of a sudden you've got what they had.
Yes, but as we learned in the film, you don't want a blood transfusion because you want to keep it in your system. Otherwise, you lose the ability of time travel. Okay. So that's the time travel method used. Very freaking clever, if you ask me, guys. When it comes to all time travel methods used, usually there's like a machine or a place or something. But have you guys ever heard of anything about like ingesting something, Kyle?
I'm glad you brought this up, because I think this is one of the most original ideas to start time travel, to cause somebody to have time travel ability. I think it is a beautiful idea. It's something, because usually it's some kind of accident or, machine malfunctions or portal or something like that. This was very cool.
A hot tub time machine
or a blue police box, something like that.
With Chernobyl.
Lacey's
got something. What you got?
She's about to drop some movie food. Wait a minute. This is a Lacey movie food.
Hold on. Let me get ready here. She's got that look. Okay. Let's go.
In Angel, when Buffy came to visit, the way that they ended up in their time loop was a demon and blood and touching the blood. That didn't have to be ingested.
God, I just did a rewatch with that, and I totally forgot.
It was just touching it. It was in Angel, not Buffy.
Good call.
When they had their weird time loop thing. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So the time travel, there's, sorry, Lacey. Sorry.
Technically that's before, because Angel was from 2004 to 9, I think, maybe, or maybe 1 to 5. I don't know. It's early aughts.
Come on, Lacey. All we remember from Angel is Puppet Angel. So,
and that's all we need you to. I mean, that's one of the best things you've ever. Love it. Awesome.
Okay. The other topic that we always talk about is, what is the time travel trope? And this, like we mentioned to earlier, this is the most famous time loop movie that there is, of course, is Groundhog Day. And there's different types of time travel. There's a time travel loop. There's a time travel back in time. But sometimes no matter how you do it, whether it's a loop or going back in time. And I remember you brought this up in one of the movies that we covered, Lacey, is the time loop. This is the trope. Keep doing it until you get it right. And boy, did we see this done many, many times where it didn't work out, Lacey.
Although this one has the added caveat that if you die, it's over. Most of the Groundhog Day-esque things where it's like you keep going until you get it right. It's literally it's an internal struggle. It's not an external struggle. It's getting everything that you internally need or want or whatever. It's kind of got the mystical thing around it. With this one, there's a death involved. Like there's the potential for just ending it.
That's true. Kyle.
One thing with this movie, because I think it would have been fun, is if every once in a while it would have had a repeat count. How many times, like it flashes a number up just in like the corner of the screen. I would be curious to know.
Okay, hold on. You are stepping on another segment here. I see where you're going at, but we're going to get to the death segment about that, and I don't want to step on that right now. But I hear what you're saying. If there was something off to the side to help us keep track, that would have been entertaining. Or at least have been a special feature on the DVD or Blu-rays or something like that. That would have been cool. That would have been cool, yes.
It's like in South Park where they did the S word. I don't know if we're guessing this, but they had like a little counter in the bottom corner every time somebody said it. Yeah.
So I have a picture up here, of course, of we see Tom here getting killed by the Alpha and getting the gift of the time loop here. So the third thing that we talk about in our time travel segments on Culture Clash, and is how did time travel change things? Now I'm gonna see if I get this right here, guys. Time looping until you figure out how to survive the foreseen battle slaughter, figure out where the main alpha mimic nest is, destroy it, thus leads to the destruction of all mimics. And also taking over as the savior from someone else that's losing the ability. Did I get that right, Lacey?
Not exactly. She lost it before he got it. Only one, I think only one at a time.
No, she still had it, but she was losing it.
No, she said,
if I remember correctly, right? Kyle, am I remembering that wrong?
No, she talks about when that battle she became famous for, she had it, but she lost it after in that battle because she got a blood transfusion. That's how she knew to tell him, if you get injured, kill yourself, because if you get a blood transfusion, you lose the ability.
Because on the battle scene, she says, "Come find me next time."
So right. She knew.
Does that mean that she knows she's dying? She just realized this new guy has the gift.
She watched him do she watched him do like immeasurable things that normal people wouldn't be able. Like he knew things were coming and he was doing things without looking at them. So she knew that he had the ability.
Okay. See, this movie still catches me off guard, and that's what I love about it. It's great. All these little things. It's awesome.
Nice.
Okay, guys, let's get into it. We're now done with the time warp or time travel segment of it. Well done. But let's get into the segments here. And first thing we're going to talk about is our favorite scenes and quotes. Now, I opened up with one of my favorite quotes that we get from Farrell. Rest in peace, Bill Paxton. And of course, I just said one of them, "Come find me when you wake up." Whether you want to start off with quotes or favorite scenes, I got some options for favorite scenes here as well up on screen. I'm going to let you guys take it away here. Kyle, let's start with you.
Okay, first off, you just mentioned Bill Paxton. Quotable is everything that comes out of Bill Paxton's mouth in this movie. This is one of his most underrated roles, I think, in film. It's unfortunately so close to when it's not that much later that he passes, but it's so understated, but so Bill Paxton over the top. It's great. And let's be honest here. There's so much great banter back and forth between Cruise and Blunt that there's so many other conversations that are just so much fun, especially when they're playing up the aspect that Cruise knows what she's going to say half the time. So
right.
I think that's great. I mean, but honestly, one of my favorite scenes that really reflects the time loop aspect of it too, but I think it's a great scene, is when they go into the general's office, when him and Rita go into the general's office, and he's like, we're seeing it for the first time, but at the end when she goes, "Well, what do we do next?" He's like, "I don't know. We've never got this far."
That's a good point. I just got to say real quick, Master Sergeant Farrell, you're an American? No, sir. I'm from Kentucky. That's a great one. Lacey, what are your favorite quotes and or scenes?
I mean, all the love for Bill Paxton, everything that comes, especially with that Kentucky drawl, right? I mean, he's so good at it. and everything he said was great. But I loved that, mirroring what Kyle said with the, I don't know, we've never gotten this far before. That's kind of a running gag, because he says that once during a battle. He says that once to Noah Taylor's character, when he says how many fingers I'm holding back. He's like, I don't know, this is the first time. Why? No. It's just, so you look at how Tom Cruise's progress and his comedy, the way his comedy alters throughout the film. It starts out where he's schmoozy and matter of fact and confident in what he does. And then it turns to like this nonplussed, like, oh my God, what am I doing? And then it turns into just sarcasm, because he's like, okay, fine, I'm just giving up. And that, so the different pieces, there is a flow to everything that he says too. I mean, 90% of the stuff that he says, because it's unexpected. I do love when he, the last time I think that he suits up and the guy's there, like, saying, you ever done that? And he's like, I need 4 grenades, 9 clips of whatever. And can you handle that? And it's like, okay, because it's completely unexpected for everyone else around him. And I loved all those little reaction shots.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think too, when you see one of them get injured and it's going to lead up to someone dying, like when Cage says, what day is it? Or Rita goes, if it's the same to you, I'm tired, I'm in pain, I'd rather just start fresh. Cage goes, tell you what, take a few minutes, coffee's ready, I'll look around, the keys, that's productive. Rita says 10 minutes. Cage says, okay, and then I'm killing you. And he goes, fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine. Go ahead, Kyle.
That scene, I want to bring up the scene because think about the mental wear that has to take on you.
Yes.
It's like, can I just have 10 more minutes, please, before I have to experience this all again?
And the mental wear on her, when she has that conversation about the guy, and she's like, I had to watch him die 300 times. Like the same thing for her, for him, for her, because he's having to watch her die over. And they have that one conversation right before the helicopter situation where he's like, we've done everything. We've done all the things. And unless you stay here, you're going to die. Watching it over and over again.
One of the most important scenes here, and it's part of the quotes, when Rita says, and this is after Bill gets hit during training, you all right, Cage? Cage says, I think I broke something. What? My back. The only thing I can feel are my lips. Rita, now listen carefully. This is a very important rule. This is the only rule. You get injured on the field, you better make sure you die. Cage says, why? Last time I was in combat, Rita says, I was hit. I was bleeding out. Just not fast enough. I woke up in a field hospital with 3 pints of someone else's blood, and I was out. I lost the power. Do you understand? Think we better start over, don't you? What? Bang! Just you're like, when you see that for the first time, it's actually jarring.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's funny, because then he comes back and you realize how important it is that the gift that he has, that if he's going to die, he has to die on the field. I want to give a shout out though to the opening scene when Brendan Gleeson is like giving him the spiel, and you start to see the tone change when Tom Cruise's Cage character realizes, like, wait, I'm not a warrior,
Mm-hmm.
And then you see Brendan Gleeson just like, he's not joking. He's like, no, you're going here tomorrow. And then like he tries to worm out of it, like try to talk to his superior, and Gleason's like, I've got the order here from you're under my command now. And you start to see the look, and then he starts to run away and they tase him. I thought that was
and I mean the flat out blackmail. I mean, he wouldn't be in this situation if he hadn't straight up blackmailed him.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nuts.
The seeing, and I think you alluded to this earlier, guys, is seeing these aliens and the way that they were portrayed and how they were communicating with each other on the battlefield was fascinating. That was a great scene. And then when you first see Emily Blunt in action, it is amazing. And I got to say, though, when you see Emily Blunt in the training sequence, I'm getting some entrapment vibes here, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Catherine Zeta-Jones, and she is toned. She is like looking at Tom Cruise going, and then she does the slow lift up. I mean,
that's called a cobra.
Yeah.
That's called a hot. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No. What's so great about this is ever since that movie came out, her husband John is like, yeah, I know I'm where I hit. Are
you saying John leveled up, Kyle?
Yeah, he went beyond leveling up. Real quick too, you had the picture of the alien up there. I just want to say that what these aliens kind of reminded me of was the Octodrones from the Matrix on incredible steroids with how they moved and everything like that. I just thought that was like, yep, they've ramped those up quite a bit.
All right, we've touched on a little bit here, but we got to explore this a little more. Let's get into the cast and crew discussion, guys. All right, so we have a fantastic cast here, guys, but I want to start off with Doug Liman here. I don't know about you guys. I'm a Doug Liman fan. I like his movies. I'm going to name off some of his highlights here, starting from the 90s. Go, Swingers, Jumper, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Bourne Identity, and more recently, Roadhouse. The one, of course, starring Jake Gyllenhaal. A lot of people didn't like it. I liked it, though. Writing credits, Christopher McQuarrie. Do you guys remember that guy's name? He started directing Mission Impossible films for Tom Cruise.
I think him and Cruise actually met on this is where they met, this film.
Yeah. Of course, we got Tom Cruise, Emily Blunt, Brendan Gleeson as General Brigham, Bill Paxton, as we mentioned, rest in peace, Master Sergeant Farrell. Jonas Armstrong plays Skinner. We get a lot of the cast members from the Battle Battalion. There's Gleason there as well. Really kind of a cool, and Noah Taylor is Dr. Carter. He was the guy that understood what was happening and did the three things thing and stuff like that. I don't know if you guys know this, but Jeremy Piven had a small role and was cut out. Might touch on that later. But I want to get your guys' thoughts on the rest of the cast because I think they did a great job showcasing. Lacey?
Well, I mean, okay, so I had only seen Friends, I'm going to say his name wrong, Drame, in Legends of Tomorrow and Flash and Attack the Block. And he's he's one of the soldiers. So I love the little band of soldiers. I think that they cast it all really well by using not necessarily unknowns, but character actors that really fit their roles. The more recognizable roles were all well done. I love Paxton. I love Brendan Gleeson. Just everybody was so well suited for their roles. I think that they did really, really well with the casting. Well
said. Kyle, your thoughts on the rest of the cast?
It's a phenomenal cast. I mean, that's the thing. The cast works so well. Nobody is outside of your top four of Cruise, Blunt, Gleeson, and Paxton. Nobody's like this outstanding huge name star, but you recognize them or you've seen them in something else, or you're like, they're just intriguing enough. Everybody in J Squad particularly is just they all give their little moments to shine, and because you have the repeat aspect of it, you see it over and over again. And I think that makes it that much more interesting. And so this cast works so well. And I like Noah Taylor as Dr. Carter too. I thought he was very good with that.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like when you see him, because he's trying to understand that Cruise has this trick, and he's like, how many times has this happened? Blah, blah, blah. But I feel like he's seen some shit, and it's nice that there was another person within this loop that knew what was going on, and he was kind of the brain behind this and helping to kind of let us know what was going on and when they were getting together to kind of plan this and stuff. So now, regarding the cast, I like to call this the Kyle's Ocean's 11. Do you think we need one more? And this is, let me get this to the screen here. There we go. Do we think we need one more? Who would you add to the cast? Now, guys, I'm going to start this off because what I like to do is I like to look back at the year of whatever the movie is that we're discussing and grab, it's called www.thenumbers.com, and you can see what the biggest stars were at the time, decided by box office money draw and how they were being billed on the posters and that type of thing. And let me give you an idea here of the top 10 people at this time in 2010. Kristen Stewart, of course, really big with certain vampire movies. Bradley Cooper was at number 2, Taylor Lautner, Robert Downey Jr., Liam Neeson at 5, Robert Pattinson at 6, Jeremy Renner at 7, Chris Hemsworth at 8, and Johnny Depp at 9, and Mark Wahlberg at 10, followed by Channing Tatum, Leonardo, Matt Damon, Denzel, and a few more. Now, here's the thing, though. When you think about who you would add to this, you can't add anyone like A-lister that's going to steal this between these two main characters. So I need you guys to kind of go back a little bit. And if you're wondering where Tom Cruise is on this list in 2010, he's actually number 22 at this list, okay? And at number 100 is Paula Patton, right behind, right ahead of her is Jackie Earle Haley and Katherine Heigl. So I've got a couple of names that I want to throw out. I got one female and one male, and they're on this list in different sections. And the two that I want to throw out are Kate Beckinsale. Yes, she's my movie wife, but I'm going to explain why. And Alex Pettyfer, okay, if I'm saying his name right. So where they list on this current 2010 list, Kate Beckinsale's at 64, and Alex Pettyfer is at 95. Now, obviously, you guys know my love for Kate Beckinsale, like the rest of the world. She's my movie wife. But I want to kind of throw out some films that she was doing. And the reason why I think this would have been a good film for her is I feel like her, as beautiful and cute as she is, I feel like her film career has kind of stalled. Everyone knows her, of course, from the Underworld films. And to give you an idea, 2012, she's in Contraband. She does Underworld Awakening 2012. She does the remake of Total Recall in 2012. 2013, she does The Trials of Kate McCall. 2014, The Elder Scrolls voice work she does. Movie called Stonehurst Asylum in 2014 and Face the Angel in 2014. Have I seen those films? No, I have not. Now, I felt that I think this would have been a great movie for her to kind of be, not necessarily, I'm not saying her to replace the Emily Blunt role. We keep Emily Blunt. But it would have been nice if maybe she was one of the soldiers or someone that was like in the offices or something like that. Kyle, you have your finger up. You got something to say?
I just have a thought about this while you're talking about it. And you know how much I love Kate. I met her in person and all that.
Stay away, but yes.
No, I'm not staying away, but who got you the autograph? Thank you. The problem, I think, with if casting Kate Beckinsale in this at this time, she's still too big known as Celine. And I think because she's too big of a female action star still at this time frame that she would have taken away from Emily Blunt. And I think that's what makes it so magical is Emily Blunt is the strong female in this. And you can't weaken down Kate Beckinsale. I think it takes away too much from the meaning of Emily Blunt. And I mean that as a compliment to Kate Beckinsale because of she's just so well known as Celine.
Okay, hold on one second, Lacey. Counterpoint to that is that, first of all, she is known, but these movies are finding their niche. They're not like, I needed something to get her a next step up to like superstardom outside of her looks and her modeling. And I thought that she really needed a good acting role and not to where and by the way, Emily Blunt is not on that list, by the way. She is not on that list, which I find fascinating. Lacey, you wanted to make a comment about Kate here?
When you put two women into an action film, they cannot look alike. Emily Blunt and Kate Beckinsale are roughly the same height, weight, shape, hair color, everything. You cannot do it in that time period. Like they don't, the concept of film, and this is going to go like a little bit, it's going to sound a little feministy. But back in the day, you got one female, and if you had two, they had to look completely different because people didn't pay attention to the actresses' names.
You're absolutely 100% correct. Yep.
And so, yeah, when you put, and don't get me wrong, they're both phenomenal actresses. Like they've both been in some amazing things. But I don't think that putting them in the same movie without giving them either equal billing or calling them twins or making them or like calling out the fact that they look alike as a plot point, it wouldn't do well.
It's a good point. The next name in the picture here is Alex Pettyfer. I've always been a big fan of this guy, and I want to give you his IMDb list. I started in 2006 because he was Alex Rider in The Stormbreaker, which is a popular book series, if I remember correctly. And I liked him in that. Then he was in Wild Child in 2008, Tormented in 2009. One of my favorite films, and I think we've talked about this on the podcast, Kyle, is I Am Number 4 in 2011. He does Beastly in 2011. He does In Time, which was a movie that I liked as well. Not a big starring role, of course. Then, of course, he gets into the Magic Mike movie in 2012. He does a movie called The Butler in 2013 and Endless Love in 2014. I felt this could have been a guy that could have been in. He could have been one of the soldiers as well. He could have had a couple of moments. I was rooting for this guy to just break somewhere or get more notice. And a good way to get noticed, guys, a lot more, is being in a Tom Cruise movie. These are my two choices. Any comments on these two, or who else would you have chosen to be added to this cast? Lacey, you go first.
Well, I was going to just kind of tapping off of the Alex Pettyfer thing. I think that there was he turned down Magic Mike 2. I mean, he just didn't want to get typecast as like Beefcake or something. And instead he did a remake of a very problematic Brooke Shields movie from the 80s, which was Endless Love. And then I can't even remember the other one because it was not super memorable.
Exactly.
And so I think that he's fantastic. I did love I Am Number 4. I love several other things. I did love him as in Alex Rider. I mean, he's done some good stuff. I think that he turned down a few things that he maybe shouldn't have turned down, and he took some things that he took some gambles that he maybe didn't get the right payoff for.
Yep.
That being said, the only cameo that would be, in my opinion,
doesn't have to be a cameo. Remember, it could be like another.
I'm just saying, like, the right answer to this question is that Bill Murray should have been somewhere in this film. Like, just like he could have been like in the room with Noah.
Would that have been too much on the nose though? But I love the option. I love it.
Like, because Noah Taylor was the only person who believed them, right? So if there was just another guy in the background, never say his name, never say a word, just hit Bill Murray in the back with a lab coat, like putting stuff together or building a model or testing some beakers.
Maybe he should have been the scientist guy or something. Maybe
something, But I love
like
what Noah Taylor did. I don't think that they should replace Noah Taylor. I think that it would have been really funny to have him just like in the background, and he would have totally done it too. He's just weird enough to have been like, sure, I'll do that. I have to pay
Kyle,
for the coffee.
Who would you add?
Okay, so I've got a couple of things here. First off, I am putting Shia LaBeouf in something just because I can kill Shia LaBeouf on a daily basis.
What's his do you know what his IMDb during this time?
I think
isn't this the time he goes a little woohoo?
Yeah, this is about the time he's starting to just hit the crazy, and that's just.
Is he replacing the guy that just wears a jock? I mean, is he that guy?
You can put him in Squad J. He's one of those. If I want to put in a little bit more of a badass in the Squad J, somebody who can maybe get like one really good action moment, but still kind of maybe fit in with the oddballness of Squad J, Jet Li.
Ooh, okay, I like that.
Okay.
But Kevin, I'm gonna add one more person to this, but the issue being is he would have to be in the time loop with Tom Cruise, because this particular man has a very special power. He has the power to explain, and the one man who can only explain better than anybody is the one and only Michael Pena.
So you want a little MCU jump, before he actually got you. Actually, he would have been funny as one of the guys, like playing poker before this. Yeah, that actually, I like that idea. Actually, that's a good idea.
But, I like having since Tom Cruise was a PR guy, maybe it was like his assistant or his cameraman or something. I like that. And then he gets sprayed with the blood too, so he's in the loop too, and he has to explain everything that's happened in the previous loop to everybody.
Oh my God.
Lacey, did you have a comment on that?
Yeah, I was going to say that for Shia, this was the year that he did Fury, and the only thing that he'd done right before that, he did Charlie Countryman and Nymphomaniac Volume 1 and 2. So this was right when he sort of stopped getting, I think there was a domestic violence or something. So
he was starting on the road. He was starting on that road.
He was starting to go down. Fury was a good road. He was good in that. Good call. Yeah. Thank you for that, Lacey. Appreciate that. Okay. Casting. This is the Tom Selleck was Indiana Jones segment, who almost got the role or passed on it. Trivia here, guys. And there's some big names here that were attached to this, guys. First of all, Brad Pitt was originally considered for the role of Bill Cage. Ryan Gosling was also considered for the role of Cage. But Jeremy Piven's character was added during reshoots. So this was those reshoots I mentioned, I think, done in August of 2012. But ended up on the cutting room floor. And his character's name was Colonel Walter Marks. Now, I don't know what character this was. I don't know if Jeremy Piven's discussed this. But if you're a freaking colonel, where was this scene and what, I'm kind of like, where did it get dropped in what part of the movie? Because that's kind of a high role, Kyle.
He's the colonel who told Brendan Gleeson's character about Cruise's assignment to him. So
Cruise is superior in the U.S.
Yeah.
Okay. Good call. Yep. All right. Also, now this is I found interesting. And if you're watching the video, you see a lovely lady here. This is Bernice Bejo. Was considered for the role of Rita Vertasky. And if you remember her, she was Christiana in A Knight's Tale. And she also got a lot of attention as the character of Peppy Miller in The Artist in 2011, which I think had an Oscar run. But I remember crushing on her big time in A Knight's Tale, Kyle.
I actually crushed on her more in A Knight's Tale than I did Miss Sassemeyer, but Kevin, can I throw in what a potential casting couch change I might have had?
Okay, sure. What you got?
Dr. Carter. What if Dr. Carter had been played by Gary Oldman?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm feeling it. Yeah, I'm good. Lacey, you're kind of pondering it. What do you think?
Well, I'm
Gary Oldman.
Not that I'm knocking Noah Taylor, but there's something like Gary Oldman could have played a very interesting kind of crazy in that role.
Yeah, he's so he goes into such depth in his characters. I feel like that might have been a wasted role on him. Just time frame, like just the amount of that role would have needed to be much larger because I feel like Gary Oldman's characters unfold while you watch them.
Gotcha.
You can start a movie, and I just don't know.
I feel like you could have come in and pinch hit and just kind of killed it and, dropped a mic type of thing. Yeah. I think that's what Kyle is referring to, but I see your point, Lisa. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. The next segment we have here is the fast or not so furious favorite mode of transportation. And I got some options here. First of all, we have those and I have an artist representation of those cool drop ships, I guess is what we call them. And it was hard to get a really good picture of it off the internet, but there's also some really good shots of the insides of it, but those are really cool vehicles. Also, of course, we had this kind of fast car right here, guys. This is kind of a cool one here. And then we had this was the Alfa Romero that Rita drove. But my favorite, there's something about vans and trailers. The gray minivan towing the caravan used by Rita and Cage is a Renault Espace. Piece of crap. Loved how it got beat to crap, and we saw what happened with the trailer and stuff. But do you guys have any favorites of these, or something that I have not mentioned?
The helicopter. The
helicopter was kind of cool. The helicopter was kind of cool.
Oh, that's right.
I'm just gonna say it shouldn't have been a Renault Escape. It should have been a Honda Odyssey.
Yes.
From this point forward, it doesn't matter if it's in the movie or not. The Honda Odyssey is the greatest car in any movie.
Yep. And we all know why, but this is a PG-13 podcast, so we can't say why.
Well said. That's a good one, guys. I love that. Okay. The next segment, one of my favorites, is the Zoolander. They look so hot right now. Favorite costume or fashion moment. We have some, first of all, Tom Cruise looking pretty sharp in the beginning of the film in his outfit. Also looks good. I got to tell you, it looks good standing in his little mech suit outfit. But for me, it's got to be Emily Blunt in her training outfit. Yeah.
Okay, so I just want to weigh in here. There are truly not that many women in Hollywood who can pull off that particular look very well. Emily Blunt is in the top 3. There's not even a question. You can probably put a Linda Hamilton in her prime, Sigourney Weaver, perhaps, but that hard-edged look and we've seen some, like, Warriors and stuff like that, and some of the old ninja movies and things like that. But to have that edge and to have that dirtiness kind of to her, and that battle scarred look to her, this is one of the best looks ever of that.
I think it's her facial expressions too that really, like, the stuff that she doesn't say that also looks awesome as well. Lacey, what do you think? What do you think of who do you think should be nominated for They Look So Hot Right Now Zoolander Award?
Kimmel.
Yeah?
Kimmel was the one who just went into battle with like a jock and then the suit. That's freaking hilarious.
I love that nomination. That's awesome.
I mean, that's just funny, man. And the fact of the matter is, like, who came up with that? Like, that's hilarious. It's completely, inconsequential to the film. There's no reason for it. It's just funny.
It is funny.
And it's delightful. And to be like landed on over and over again while you're not even, like, there's not even any clothing to hold him together. He just explodes every time.
Talk about balls out. There you go.
Literally.
Next segment we have here is the Harry Met Sally scene. Best scene or moment between two characters. I have some nomination, guys. Obviously the moments with Brendan Gleeson's character with, of course, in the beginning with Tom Cruise. Now, I know they're not alone always, but I think the moments between Tom Cruise and Bill Paxton character has some moments as well. And when they're kind of taking a breath later on and trying to get to the next stage, and they're Tom Cruise's character and Emily Blunt, he's patching her up. He's finding information about her past. She's slowly, reluctantly starting to open up. Those are some nominations. But what are your favorite moments between two people? Who wants to go first? Kyle.
I think the scene where it's Blunt and Cruise traveling in the minivan, where she's like, no, that's not my real middle name. Where she's still kind of feeling him out, and you can she's kind of like, I know what's going on. I'm not telling him the truth in these prior things, even though she doesn't remember them. And then later on, when she does reveal her actual middle name. But there's one you don't have up here, Kevin, that I actually think is kind of important. And it's not between two of the major characters in the film, but it's a Tom Cruise moment. It's the loop where he goes to the London bar and he's having that conversation with the guy across from him.
Yeah.
Because I really think that was a turning point for his character in that film too. Obviously seeing London getting invaded as well. But I think that conversation he has with that guy in the bar is actually a pretty key moment in the film.
That is an excellent point. You're right. Absolutely. Good call. Lacey, what about you? You have any favorite moment between two characters?
Okay. Yeah. When they go to the Louvre and you've got, Cruise and Emily Blunt, and they're doing their thing, and the other three soldiers, and one of them goes off to run and do the thing, and the last two guys are sitting there and they know that it's about to be over, and they're running out of ammunition. They've got one grenade, and there's just that one look where they kind of go, well, and they kind of nod, and they don't have to say anything, but it was a very kind of poignant scene because they knew that they were taking on a suicide mission to begin with, and then they just realized, well, this is the part. We're done. Yeah. And I thought that was kind of
that's a good call. I like that. Yeah. Well done. Cool. All right, guys. This is Couch Potato Theater here on the Fandom Podcast Network, of course, discussing Edge of Tomorrow. Came out in 2014. We're celebrating its 10th anniversary. And the next segment, there's a lot to choose from here, guys. It was kind of tough to talk about this, but we're talking about the best fight scenes or battle scenes. And there was so many done so well. And a little shout out to what was his name, Lacey, the one that goes balls out?
Kimmel. Sorry,
Kimmel.
I was like, there's so many people.
Yeah. There's just a lot of really good battle scenes. Kyle, you got any favorites?
Anytime they revisit the beach is just absolutely amazing because there's so much going on. But I think my favorite version of that is when it's the first time Rita realizes what's going on with Cruise's character. And because she's seeing him do all that, and that whole sequence is just so well done, where he's just anticipating everything.
Like when he's running around the crater and he's shooting into the crater. Yeah.
Good call. And she just realized that's the one loop where she realizes what's going on with him. And that's where she goes, "Find me when you wake up." I think that's probably the best version of that fight scene.
Well said. What about you, Lacey? What's your favorite fight scene?
I have two. The one that we were just talking about where he's gone through 7 or 8 times, and the last time where you see him running around and shooting everything inside and saving his whole platoon, and then Bill Paxton and the other guy, he's like, "You say he's never done this?" He's like, "Huh?" Like, that was great. Where he's just like, "Okay," like he is because he had done all the training. And that kind of leads me to the other one. I loved all of the fight scenes with the training bots.
Yes.
It was just hilarious. I mean, he's literally fighting himself because it's just his memory. He's fighting his own memory, trying to remember where it's just maybe shouldn't be as funny as it is, but it was really funny.
I wanted to throw out one I was just thinking about, and I consider it a fight scene because it definitely leads up to it, is when he gets to the dam or whatever it is, and there's kind of a standoff with one of the alpha ones. It kind of reminds me of the scene in Aliens when Ripley has Newt and has the flamethrower, and there's the standoff between the Queen, and then like all of a sudden the pods start to open. I kind of got that Aliens vibe when I was watching that scene, and I thought that was pretty cool. So,
well, it's that tilt of the head. It's the tilt of the head. She does
yeah.
And then
one of the segments I like to talk about, and I don't have it in all the Couch Potato Theaters, but this one we got to talk about. This is called the "You Took Him Out with What?" Favorite weapon or inanimate object used as a weapon. And guys, when it comes to it, you got the mech suits, right? And you see them well used, of course, by Tom Cruise when his character Kate starts to figure out how to use it well. But really, and you can watch YouTube shows of the Edge of Tomorrow hero sword that Rita uses, because you start to realize in this movie that she relies on this weapon the most. It's a melee weapon, and that it is the most effective when it comes to disarming it kind of reminds me of that scene in Starship Troopers, where what's his name says, your weapon can't use their hand if you disable their hand, and that Clancy Brown famously says. And it's just a really badass looking sword. And I figure, Kyle, when this segment was kind of derived, this fits right in there, doesn't it? Or am I missing something else that's better than this?
Come on. You got to think the minute they handed her that sword, she just had a big old smile on her face. Like, oh, this is going to be fun.
That's a good point. Lacey, you have any thoughts on the weapons in this?
I think that he got killed. Like, I mean, I'm not even talking about like the battle scenes. I'm just thinking of all the different times and ways that Tom Cruise was dispatched. I mean, he was dispatched by car, by helicopter blade, by obviously guns, gunfire, lasers, blood. He was. I mean, it is the concept of the Sean Bean Award. But I love the fact that every time you turn around, she is the one who's killing him. Like after the first, 20 mistakes, and she.
Okay, well, we're stepping in on the death. We're stepping into the death scene thing. We're still talking about the weapons here, but this is a good transition.
Yeah, she picks up all the fun weapons. Mm-hmm.
So speaking of the Sean Bean Award, that's where we're next. So good transition there. This is the Beth death scene. Now, this deserves its own special attention for obvious reasons. Hallie, you have your finger up here. What are you going to say?
I just have something I'm wondering here in my own head. If we put Sean Bean in the lead in this, where he's just dying over and over again, does the universe just break in two?
Damn it, Kyle, I want to see that movie now because it would be so on the nose. Sean Bean gets a script saying, wait, how many times you want me to die in this movie? Do I live in the end? That's the big question, Lacey.
But it would be even funnier if he played the character of Noah, like Noah's character, so like knowing that he dies over and over again, or just watching someone else die over and over again and being like, I feel it, I get it, I feel it, I feel your pain.
Okay, without at least if you can at least fake it, if you know the answer, take a moment to pause because this is for the viewers and this is for the listeners. If you had to guess how many times we see on screen Tom Cruise dying, what would it be?
Ooh, okay.
Kyle's cheating, right? Kyle's cheating right now. I can tell.
I'm not cheating.
I'm guessing 124.
Kyle?
On screen, I'm going to say about 24 times.
Well, I found an article, and I'm glad you brought this up, Kyle, because you are close. Okay, I found an article online. It is by Ethan Anderton, and this came out in 2015. So it came out about 5 years after this movie was getting some tread and some love. Edge of Tomorrow counts the death of Tom Cruise. It starts off by saying, and this was on firstshowing.net, 2015 article, March 10th. Even though Edge of Tomorrow, or Live Die Repeat, as it's been rebranded, didn't do well in the theatrical box office, it's thankfully found the audience it deserves on home video. The film starring Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt isn't just another sci-fi blockbuster. It takes the familiar Groundhog Day premise, delivers some killer action, but also throws in a surprise amount of comedy. Now, a fan of the film has decided to create an infographic charting every single time William Cage, played by Cruise, dies in the film. Keep in mind, these are only the deaths that we see as much more time and death passes off camera. Look below now. So you have the wake up, the beach in South France, okay, exposed to the alien. Then is there a lot of blood, right? Tries to save Kimmel, run over by a truck. Then the famous "Come Find Me When You Wake Up," rolling under the truck. Then we get to the training arena. I think we better start over. Next one is, have you tried all of the options? Another one was, okay, do it. Again. On your feet, maggot. Maggot again. Maggot again. Then, son of a bitch. Dead. I'm ready. Dead. Now, how far did we get? Dead. Hold. Dead. Stepping left, ducking right. Dead. Across the trench. Dead. You need to be specific. Dead. I've got something on my face. Dead. And then you go to the pub. Says, I've been over there more times than anybody. And you got the chopper south of the beach. My middle name is Rose. Then you have the dam, the drowning. Then you have the general, Westminster, London. And then we start closing out on, we've never gotten this far. And then the Louvre saves the world. Okay. I want to get your quick thoughts on this. What is your favorite Tom Cruise death scene in this? Kyle.
You know, honestly, it's the one where he just throws himself under the car and Bill Paxton's characters are like, what? Like,
what the hell was this guy doing? Well played. That's a good one. Lacey, what is your favorite Tom Cruise death scene?
Kyle took mine. I'm very sad. When he's doing the push-ups and he rolls under the truck.
Yeah.
That's just like, yeah.
My favorite, and I got a picture of it, is when he breaks everything and he can't feel anything.
He feels lips.
Yeah, because it was kind of jarring, because you're like, oh crap, he can't move. What happens now? And she knows the answer. She just goes up and shoots him. That was great. Good stuff there. Good stuff, guys. Okay. I want to talk about one of my favorite things here is, are you sure that wasn't real? Best special effects scene. Kyle, I want to start with you on this. We've got some stuff to choose from here. You know, I think there's some good options here.
The aliens themselves look so impressive, and yet they do a great job of making them not feel CGI'd. And I think that's something, especially when you look at going back to 2010 with where we were at with technology. I mean, you look at the Alpha, and the Alpha just looks phenomenal. And there's just moments when, especially when they're coming up out of the ground, that just they feel real, even though you know they're CGI. They're not practical effects for the most part. But yeah, I mean, they did a phenomenal job with this and these alien effects in this film.
What about you, Lacey? What are your thoughts on the special effects? You got any favorites?
I think that the nice thing about the special effects in this is that a lot of the stuff that you don't realize are special effects, and those are the best special effects. I think anytime you have them jumping out of the plane, the drop ships, those are, like, they're so cool looking. I mean, you know, and there's legit nothing there. I mean, it's like a box with 4 seats on it and like some dangling ropes, and they put all of the rest of it in. It's just fantastic. I do love the fact that the aliens, especially in like the final scenes when they're under the Louvre and when they do the under the Louvre and they're or in the dam, right? And they're and it looks at him and they kind of have that like standoff, and you see emotion on the alien's face with no, you know, he's just kind of looking at him like,
what we have the Fall Guy Award for Best Action or Stunt Scene. We've touched on a lot of these. There, especially those drop ship scenes that you just mentioned, Lacey. Those are really cool. A lot of the battle scenes, just in the chase scenes with the cars and the minivan. And there's just a lot to choose from. Kyle, did you have a favorite?
I really like the crash of the drop ship into the Louvre itself.
Oh, good call. Yeah.
Or they take it across the lake, even though it can't, the water, even though it can't fly. And then as they crash it into the Louvre, because Tom Cruise does, as we know, Tom Cruise does do many of his own stunts. And yeah.
The next segment we got here is the Star Wars Twin Sons favorite filming location or set piece. And we get, this film was filmed in and around London, and we get real film locations as well. I absolutely love the helicopter dropping in on Trafalgar Square. I've been to this place several times. It's one of the most famous locations in London. And there's only certain stars that I'm going to say can guarantee, look, I need to drop a helicopter in the middle of Trafalgar Square that gets permission to do that. And that is definitely Tom Cruise. Now, I have a couple of artist renditions of like the fall of the Eiffel Tower. I couldn't get that screenshot from the movie, but there's a really cool screenshot in the film of, you see the collapsed tower. And then, of course, the battle at the Louvre. I have another artist rendition here as well. In and around, of course, England, there's some great filming locations here. I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on that. Lacey?
You know, locations is kind of a thing for me. I think that a lot of the locations, people think, you know, oh, you know, the big money shots, you know, but for me, it's things like the little room that Noah Taylor was in, like that, looking at all the stuff in the background and all the net, like the little inner workings of all the things, the general's office with everything behind him. And you can see, you know, kind of, it changes bits and bobs here and there every time they go a little bit further. So you see, you know, the difference in the maps on the walls and things like that. And that's something that's just really hard to keep track of when you're on a film crew. And that kind of continuity is impressive.
Kyle, what about you? Filming locations, set pieces? Got any favorite?
I just want to give all the credit in the world to how well they've rebuilt the Louvre after this film. I mean, yeah, but I mean, the restoration process was absolutely phenomenal. The documentaries on that have got to be crazy.
I wonder if the Mona Lisa drowned. I'm wondering where that thing went.
But I mean, London itself is just a character in this film, and it works so well. And so any of the sets in London are just in location on shooting in London is just phenomenal. You know,
I'm glad you brought that up, Kyle, because I love the Fallen trilogy with you know, Olympus Has Fallen, London Has Fallen. I love those films. And the second one is London Has Fallen, even though a lot of it's filmed in like Czechoslovakia or Turkey or whatever it is. It's great when you see a bunch of London landmarks get taken out by whatever it is. Just like, you know, Independence Day, we get the White House taken out and several other things. Is interesting. But Lacey, you reminded me of something of like set pieces, and you also touched on like scenes. Like I thought the training sets were fantastic with the machines that are supposed to double as the aliens. I forgot how cool every time you revisit those scenes, those are really cool.
Yeah, but I wonder, I don't know how much of that was actual. I don't know how much of that was actual special effects versus actual like practical. I'd have to go back and watch,
which is amazing. You know, I'm sure that those weren't metal. They were probably like, you know, rubber or something, but man, they look scary. Definitely cool. You know? Okay, guys, the next fun one here that I like to always do, and I always like to get your takes on this here, if you were a non-speaking extra on the set, which scene would you want to be in? And Kyle, I'm going to go with you on this first.
I want to be one of the grunts in the training room. It's because I can just, every time Emily Blunt gets up, Oh,
hold on. You mean not the training, not the grunts where Tom Cruise is, learning with the grunts on the ship. You're talking about Emily Blunt's.
Yeah, one of those grunts in that training room area there.
Okay, gotcha. Lacey, what about you? What scene would you want to be an extra in?
In all practicality, it's going to be something in the general's office, or maybe the very, very final scene, because scenes like 87% of the movie, I don't want to be on the battlefield. I don't want to be in the water. I don't want to be, because those are long days on set. I want to be in the air condition. I want to be sitting in a chair in the corner, like just watching the cool stuff happen.
Understood. I don't blame you one bit. The one I would want to be in is basically the training barracks, wherever Bill Paxton and Tom Cruise are going at it and talking. I want to be one of those guys like running behind them and like seeing Tom Cruise's character get smushed. I just want to be somewhere back there. I thought that would be kind of cool to redo those. Can you imagine like redoing those scenes all the time, having Tom Cruise and Bill Paxton just like kill it every time, literally?
Yes, I can.
Okay. I want to go to the hot take one here, guys. This is the Aliens Nuke It from Orbit hot take. As I said when I originally saw this film, the ending didn't sit with me, and a lot of my rewatches on this film, I would actually stop watching it once it kind of gets to the Louvre, because I found it kind of convoluted at the time, or there's just something about the ending that didn't quite sit with me. And maybe it was a little confusing at the time, or it doesn't give me the thrill that I get when because I keep wanting him to do the time loops. It's the most entertaining thing of this film. And I feel like the air gets left out a little bit in the ending. And plus also, he's the one with the power. Emily's not, and he kind of keeps her out of the ending of this just to keep her safe. And then like they don't really like end up together too, and it's just, there's something about it that just bugs me. And for that reason, in order to do this podcast, I had to watch the ending by itself a couple times just to remember it. Am I on to anything with this? Do I stand alone in this? Kyle, what do you think?
I think the ending feels so different because there's no loop. You're done with that section, so it's almost becomes a little bit of a different film in an aspect. And you're taking it different because the stakes are higher. They can't make a mistake now. But I want to address something though, Kevin, about they don't end up together at the end. There is no way they end up together at the end, because truthfully, when you see somebody killed that many times and Emily Blunt to have to go through it twice with two different people, there is too much trauma there. She is not committing to anybody for the rest of her life because of what she's gone through in these time loops. And I mean, plus I just think that it would be one of those things where you have Tom Cruise who knows, think about it did reset again and she didn't remember. So Tom Cruise knows everything. She knows nothing. And even though she understands about the time loop aspect of it, I can see where the fight would come in because he knows so much already, and he's still a major and things like that. They're war buddies. They've become good friends, but I just don't see them ending up together.
Even
just
though
the
he
trauma
knows
they've been.
Lacey, what do you think? Because through all of this, he's learned about her past now a little bit. Do you think he understands that she would not like him in the first place, or that now that he knows stuff about it, she'd be put off by the fact, like, how would you know that? What do you think?
The conversation is always going to be something similar to what happened in Palm Springs. They get 100 times in, and all of a sudden she goes, "Wait a minute, have you had sex with me?" That is the question. It's about what she doesn't know versus what he does know. I think that the achievement of this film is that they're actually on an even playing field. If you think about it, if he comes clean and tells her what's going, because she knows what happened, like she went through it, so she saw her Bo, or whoever the guy was, die 300 times. And Tom Cruise saw her die 300 times, and they know what each other went through. So, I mean, it almost feels like it could basically, you could go like codependent, you could go, war, discussing war wounds, or you could go relationship. I mean, I think that it's kind of open as long. It depends on how truthful he is in the display, the discussion.
Good point. Okay. So, I wanted to bring up this segment here because I think you guys touched on something before we started doing it. I think it's worth a quick discussion. And this is the Titanic, I'm king of the world career moment. Was an actor in this movie or at the top of their career at this time, or was anything else from this movie trending, newsworthy, tabloid popular when this movie was released? Now, I feel like this was one of the films that really kind of raised Emily's stardom. But I think the real star of this film is time travel and how it was done and how clever it was done. And thus, I want to kind of stay in that lane, unless there's something else you want to bring up that you think that definitely deserves it. But when it comes to time travel movies, probably the most famous one is the Back to the Future trilogy for obvious reasons. Now, of course, there's been all these cute little niche films that were either on Netflix or whatever that we mentioned earlier that deal with time travel. We've been talking about it, a time travel series on Culture Clash. But when it comes to time travel in like the last 20 years, the biggest ones are what? Is it this one and then maybe Endgame because, they did the time travel heist in it? What else stands out as really well-known, revered time travel movies, and where does this one fit in all-time time travel movies? Who wants to go first?
I think you have to look at this at a couple different ways. Is this an all-time time travel movie? I'm not going to go that far. I think it's up there, but because I don't even think within its own trope, as much as I love this movie, I think for most people within its own trope of a day being looped, it's still Groundhog Day.
Well, we've covered Time Cop as well. That was time travel.
Yeah, but I mean, as far as being like an all-time, like one of the like king of the world kind of films for time travel, I don't necessarily know. I don't know if I would go that far because I think my feeling on it is this is going to sound weird.
Kyle, just to clarify, this movie is revered because of the concept of the way they did the time travel. You yourself said it. So that's the angle I'm trying to get at here is like, yes, this movie's becoming so popular because it did time travel well in a very clever way, thus makes this movie stand out and gives it that time travel movie cred. Is kind of
it definitely it has that. I just don't know if I would put it at the top of any of the lists.
What about like a top 10 or top 5?
Oh, easily. What I would say though, and this is going to sound weird, but I think this is the only way I can really define it in my own head. It is the top science fiction time loop thing ever done. If that makes sense, because I don't necessarily consider Groundhog Day a science fiction film. That's a comedy. But
welcome to Kyle's hot take, alien nuke it from orbit hot take.
I mean, that's the only way I can truly explain it, because I think Groundhog Day is the pinnacle of time loop movies for most people. Right. But I think this one in science fiction, it's one of my all-time favorite science fiction time travel films.
Lacey, what's your take on that subject?
I think that time travel films and time loop films are quantifiably different. I know that there is time travel within a time loop film, but there's not a time loop in most time travel films. Good right? Point. And so I think that when you look at things like Groundhog Day, Boss Level, Source Code, those are you get. And there, we talked about 15 other ones earlier, Palm Springs and 1201, all these different movies that are all time loops. So I think that for time loop movies, this is like the one sci-fi one that stands out. The rest of them kind of rely on either, comedy or like achieving some sort of heist kind of a thing, most of them. So Source Code had a science fiction-y kind of feel to it, but it still was like right. It was science based. It wasn't science fiction based, So I don't know. And I also wanted to say that with Emily Blunt, this isn't her first time travel movie. She was in Looper 2 years before this.
Yeah.
So now she was on the other end of it. She wasn't the one who was going through the time travel, but she was seeing the results of the time travel.
Kyle, before we move on to the next.
Just a real quick question for both of you guys.
Mm-hmm.
If you're stuck in a time loop, do you age?
What?
If you are stuck in a time loop, nobody around you ages, but do you age?
No.
No, I don't think so.
No.
Yeah. Good call.
Because Harold Ramis very clearly said that Bill Murray spent like something like 10,000 years in the time loop.
All right. What happens next? The next day, what if? Well, fans have been clamoring. We want to know. There has been talk about a sequel, and I found an article. And we always talk is like, is the remake, reboot, sequel, or prequel couch potato worthy? Well, we'll find out because there has been talk. Edge of Tomorrow director shares exciting update on possible sequel. This was on www.cbr.com. Edge of Tomorrow 2, Doug Liman update. And this was published this year, guys, June 21st, 2024. Edge of Tomorrow continues to garner momentum for a potential sequel, with the studio responsible for the acclaimed sci-fi action film pushing harder than anyone to make it happen. Director Doug Liman claims Warner Brothers have consistently asked about when the long-rumored follow-up would be. I find it fascinating that it's the studio that wants this to happen, like, really badly. Speaking of Total Film, Liman revealed Warner Brothers has been pushing for Edge of Tomorrow 2, furthering speculation the sequel would be closer to fruition. For Liman, it's a, quote, compliment that the studio and many fans he's come across want to follow up. Quote, I do think there's probably no better compliment to a movie than people wanting for there to be a sequel, he said. Edge of Tomorrow, there's no better compliment than Warner Brothers constantly bringing it up. Will you go and make another one of these? And Warner Brothers executive have expressed eagerness to make Edge of Tomorrow 2 following Tom Cruise's recent return to the studio after agreeing to a strategic partnership. Liman would love to create a sequel. However, should it happen, the Helmer believes some creative shifts must be made, and his directing style in recent years has changed. Quote, Tom and I recently rewatched Edge of Tomorrow together. Can you imagine being in a room with those two watching this? Oh my God. I had not yet watched it since it came out, and I have a very short attention span and memory. I wasn't able to watch it entirely as a viewer, but I was definitely also not the filmmaker anymore, he said. And this references Tom Cruise now with Warner Brothers in a major deal. Cruise returned to Warner Brothers this past January 2024, thanks to the partnership, which will see him develop original feature-length projects and franchises for the studio. Edge of Tomorrow was Cruise's last film with Warner Brothers. So there's a lot of talk here. There's a lot of momentum. Emily Blunt's gone on saying, I would love to do it. The way this movie ends, there's a possibility. It's been 10 years. Guys, what are your thoughts on a sequel, and what would you like to see? I'm going to start with you, Lacey.
Well, it would have to be called The Edge of Overmorrow, which would be hilarious because that
or Live, Die, Repeat, Live, Die.
Well, Overmorrow means the day after tomorrow.
Okay.
So I think that'd be kind of fun.
Is that too smart for people like me?
I mean, I think that would bring a word into the lexicon and people would learn it. And
over tomorrow?
Overmorrow.
Okay.
It's okay. It's like,
hold on, I'm gonna Google that. No, go ahead.
It just means the day after tomorrow. Yeah.
Okay.
But I think that'd be funny. I think it could be an interesting film. I think that they would have to come up with something. It's hard. I mean, it's kind of the problem that they had with Independence Day 2, right? The same aliens come back with the same problems, and then they have to do the same thing to defeat them, because aliens have a certain bandwidth, right? And humans have a certain bandwidth. And so you have to figure out, like, there has to be like some sort of, like, the aliens have to have learned something or something. And then maybe the two of them, because they were both infected previously, maybe they somehow get like in some sort of like brain trap or something. Maybe they had a relationship, they've broken up, and all of a sudden they're brought back together because of this like mind meld thing, because they were both affected by this in the past.
Gotcha.
Or
other, or other people that have the ability. Kyle, what do you think?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, it would be Live, Die, Repeated would be the name of it.
or would it be Live, Die, Repeat / Edge of whatever word she said?
No. It would be We're Doing This Shit Again, Repeated.
Live, died, repeated.
There's a few ways you could go. I think one real interesting concept for me would be is if it is Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt, they do come together and they have a kid. Because they've both been exposed to this blood, maybe this kid has some effects from that ties this kid to the aliens somehow, that draws the aliens back to the planet. And there's something there where, or maybe the kid has the ability and can control it, of creating a time loop, much like the Omega did.
Right.
I like that. Ooh, I like that.
You could also go like Skyline with it, or like Chappie, where because they were infected, eventually, like over the years, they started becoming partially like the aliens themselves. It grows within their system, even though there's,
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Combine those, but here I'm going to steal a little bit from Robotech here, Kyle. You might appreciate this. Because I want to see them take this off planet, and that they find alien technology and figure out how to make their defenses stronger, and maybe take it to the nearby planet. I like to kind of see a bump up in technology or something, but maybe with the help of this time thing, And I think that if the secret gets out about this, though, could be part of the problem, because then you want to see people abuse it. Because if people going, I need to find a way to get this blood in me, I need to find a way to find an alpha. Maybe someone's master plan is to find an alpha so they can gain that ability and then find a way to abuse it. I think that would be kind of cool. What do you think?
Interesting, but I don't know if it falls into the feeling of what this film is about and what this franchise kind of is about. Because I think you have to involve the alien attack is just as much of a part of this as the time loop itself. So I think you have to involve the aliens in some way. But I mean,
obviously, you get someone searching. Yeah,
it does feel a little Independence Day too, with we've used the alien technology to improve ourselves.
Yeah, it has to be smarter than me. You're right, Kyle.
There's another like little caveat to that, and that's that we're going back to Groundhog Day. I mean, after the first 3 or 4 days, he does abuse the power. I mean, he punches Ned. He steals the car. He does the don't drive angry.
Yeah.
He does the abuse. Like there's that point where people do like go nuts and just go, I have no consequences. Yay. What am I going to do? But it always ends up coming back to, I'm never getting out of this until I actually fix the problem. So I don't know that the abuse of the power is something that would be, it has to be a side quest. It can't be.
Yeah. Well, we've learned from watching many, many movies and many tropes that there is always, someone's always going to find a way to abuse a time travel power. And I just think that would be an interesting little chase. But let's go ahead and wrap this up, guys. It's been a great discussion, and I want to get everyone's final thoughts on Edge of All right, let's start with you, Kyle. Give me your final thoughts here on Edge of Tomorrow.
Well, welcome to Couch Potato Theater. We're here to talk about Edge of Tomorrow. I can't wait to get this podcast started. Guys, it's so exciting to be here with you. It feels a little
hold on. I got to give a golf clap there. There you go. That's good. I like that. That was good.
In truth, you know what this is? This movie is, I mean, it's a great movie, but this movie is a great date movie. And you know why it's a great date movie?
Oh, I like this. I see where you're going.
This is the kind of movie, even though it's science fiction done in a way that somebody who's not necessarily a huge fan of science fiction will still enjoy it, because you've got the time travel loop thing going on. You've got the great chemistry of Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt. And
this is another one of Aliens Nuke It from Orbit hot takes by Kyle.
And I think it's one of those movies that really transcends being a genre film because of so many aspects of it. Even though it is it has its roots in hardcore science fiction, it just It transcends it because of great performances, because of chemistry, because you have the fun of the time loop aspect. It's what makes it a couch potato theater film. And like I said, what makes it a film that I think crosses the boards of different movie fandoms.
Well said. I didn't see that coming. Loved it, Kyle. Lacey.
Right on. I think this is a super fun Groundhog Day homage. I think it's fun. I think the science fiction aspect was something that hadn't been done before. I like all the different versions of the comedy, and I like the dramatic ones. There's, all different kinds. I think this is the only one that really did grab the sci-fi and just like really take hold. And I think it's a fun way to watch that particular plot
love it
device. Yeah.
Well said. To me, Kyle, as you know, I judge my fandom of films and TV in rewatchability, and this is one of the most rewatchable films for me over the last 10 years, especially in the last 5. It's comfort food for me now. It's like, live, die, repeat. Let's watch this. I just got to do it. And I'll be honest too. Sometimes I'll just watch the first half of it, and sometimes I go, wait a minute, I need to watch the ending. I'll just watch the ending, or I'll just kind of go, look for a couple scenes. And I love having the 3D version here. I love watching it on 3D. I love that we got the 4K release of it. And it means that this movie has staying power. This movie came off of a lackluster US box office. The overseas kind of money saved it, did really well on home video. And that just even made it even more rewatchable for people. And this just, as Kyle, when we were talking about what we were going to do this year, you're like, live, die, repeat. Oh, hell yeah. Live, die, repeat. Let's do it. Guys, this is the Fandom Podcast Network. And you're, of course, have been listening to and watching Couch Potato Theater, Live, Die, Repeat / Edge of Tomorrow, celebrating its 10th anniversary. Let's Lacey, first of all, you are one of my wonderful co-hosts, of course, of Time Warp and many other fun shows here. You are part of the family. Let the listeners and viewers know how they can find you.
I'm Lacey Pants in all the places except for Instagram, where I am the Lacey Pants. Everywhere else includes Facebook and what used to be Twitter and Blue Sky or Big Sky, I always forget, and Threads and what's the
Instagram?
Yeah, no, that's the Lacey Pants.
X.
I'm thinking Letterboxd.
Gotcha. That's right, Letterboxd.
And
right,
Discord. Yeah. I'm on the Discord as well.
I think they should actually have a caveat on Letterboxd that each time you watch Edge of Tomorrow, you're able to rate it again and then just keep rating it again and rating again. Kyle, where can we find you? You're my brother from another mother here, co-founder of the Fandom Podcast Network. Where can we find you, bro?
Of course, you can find me all over the Fandom Podcast Network, over all the great shows there. You can find me on Twitter at AKyleW. You can find me on Instagram at Threads at AKyleFandom. You can find me on Discord at AKyleW, and you can also find me on Letterboxd at KSport16. I can't seem to get the same name everywhere. It's highly frustrating. I need to get a time loop so I can fix that.
My name is Kevin. You can find me on all of the socials at Spartan_Phoenix. Of course, you can find me on Facebook. Shout out Letterboxd too. Enjoying that, keeping track of all the films I'm watching. Fandom Podcast Network is on Facebook. And if you're listening to this, please check us out and subscribe to us on YouTube. If you're already watching us on YouTube, thank you very, very much. Leave us a comment, share us out. We'd appreciate it. Email us at fandompodcastnetwork@gmail.com. And of course, we are also on Instagram and Twitter. I'd like to thank, first of all, Kyle, Lacey, again, thank you so much. Thank you for joining us here on the Fandom Podcast Network, Couch Potato Theater, for the special presentation celebrating the 10th anniversary of Edge of Tomorrow. Until next time, we will see you on the couch. Thank you and goodbye, everyone. Bang! Until next time, we will see you on the couch. Thank you and goodbye, everyone. Bang! Until next time, we will see you on the couch. Thank you and goodbye, everyone.
Okay, I think I knocked it out of him. So get that blood transfusion stat.
See you next time, guys, on the Fandom Podcast Network and Couch Potato Theater.